What's good, you guys? It's Lifestyle from lifestyledidit.com, and in today's video we're going to be going over 5 tips that really took my mixes to the next level. These aren't in order. These are just 5 things that I knew when I first learned them and I implemented them in my mixes. I literally went from 0 to 100 so much faster just by using these 5 tips that are well known and well used by many engineers for years, and when I implemented them they really helped out my mixes. So let's dive into it. Alright, so the first one is mixing at low levels, and I'm not talking about the levels of volume on faders or the gain. I'm talking literally about the level and volume of your speakers while you're mixing. A rule of thumb, to have your speakers at a volume where you could speak to someone next to you without having to raise your voice. So literally all you would need to do is adjust the gain on your interface or on your speakers or your laptop or however you're mixing, but literally don't touch the faders in the DAW to bring it down. Just take the volume knob on your interface or on your computer, whatever you're using, and just bring it down to where you can have a conversation with someone right next to you and you're not going to have to raise your voice. What this is going to do is it's going to keep your ears from being fatigued, and it's also going to let you hear every part of the mix. When you first do this, it is very hard to mix like this because you want to have it loud. You want to be able to hear everything really loud in your face, right? But when you can overcome that and really learn how to mix with the low level volume, you're going to learn how to mix a lot better, because when you crank your volume really loud, the bass and kick are really standing out. So when you're mixing low, you're actually hearing the whole mix. And another thing is that when you have it turned up really loud, it sounds good. We like loud things, we like loud music, and anything really loud most of the time sounds good. When you turn it down, you really hear if it's punching or not. The next one is obviously one of the biggest, and that is leaving headroom. What that means is leaving negative dB before 0. So if 0 dB is the cap, which it is, especially in digital recording, you go over 0, it sounds really bad. In analog, you can kind of have some fun and play with it. You'll get nice saturation. But in the digital realm, if you go over 0, it sounds bad, right? You need to leave headroom before your master limiter or clipper, however you're getting your volume. But leaving headroom is literally just staying under 0. Good rule of thumb is at least like maybe negative 6 dB, because that kind of gives you some jump if there's a lot of dynamics in your track and something gets loud. But I would say on the master, at least shoot for like negative 8 to negative 6. That's a good rule of thumb. And if you're using certain analog plugins, check the guide, because some of them tell you to feed the gain in at negative 18 dB for those plugins to best work. Those are only some that are really modeled after like analog gear, but for the most part, just leaving headroom and not clipping is what you need to focus on. I have a lot of videos on this. I have one main video on this, so go ahead and check that one out. Tip 3 that really helped my mixes was learning that subtractive EQ is a lot more important than additive EQ. And what I mean by that is when you pull up a sound and you're going to EQ it, go for subtractive EQ first. Try to take bad sounds out, because bad sounds are going to cover the good. So if you just have a really bad sound and there's a lot of low mid-range and you're just boosting high end to get it to sound bright, you probably could have just focused on that lower mid-range or those lower tones of frequencies, and when you cleared those out, things get brighter. If you ever take a low cut on a vocal and start to bring it up to around 100, 150, you'll start to hear that the vocal literally sounds brighter. Now, you might not want to cut out all the way to 150, but just take an EQ, do a low cut, and start to carve all the way to like 1 to 150 and flip it on and off. You'll literally hear the vocal sounds brighter, because you're making your speakers focus more on different frequencies more than the low end. So if you have something that doesn't sound good, go for subtractive EQ before you go for additive EQ, and you're going to hear a big difference. Fourth one is going to be panning. Panning can literally make room and space in a mix and make a mix sound wide. Really focus on panning. Let's say you have some chords going, right? You have a nice chord progression in stereo, it's nice and wide, and then you have a guitar and maybe you have another harmony going with the piano. Pan those left and right and listen to how it makes it sound wider. You have your main core in the middle, but once you start to pan things left and right, you don't have to go super hard right, super hard left. You can if you want. Sometimes it sounds really cool. You have to get used to it though. But just small pans can literally make your mix sound so wide. And obviously this is very simple, but I feel like it's really overlooked, because panning can literally change a mix and make things sound crazy. Say it's like a bridge, right? And you have some stuff over here, some stuff over here, and some stuff in the middle. You don't have to go hard right, hard left. You could literally go over here. I feel like a mime. Middle, here, here, here. There's so many spots. It introduces different width to the mix and can sound really good. Tip 5, my favorite tip: mixing in mono. This is so important because this will teach you how to EQ and how to level instantly. And the reason that is when you mix in mono, everything is smashed in the middle. Your whole mix is in the middle, everything's together, there's no width to it, and this will literally let you hear what's covering what. So if you have a piano playing and then you have a guitar playing and they're clashing, when it's in mono, you're gonna hear that because the piano and the guitar are no longer gonna sound like they're separated. The guitar might be hidden, you might not be able to hear it because the two are clashing with each other, or you have a bunch of pianos going and some pads and, you know, your 808 and all this thing playing at the same time. And when you put it in mono, you're literally going to hear that they clash most of the time, right? This is going to let you know and let you figure out what needs to be EQ'd and where, and it's going to train your ears to really hear frequencies and volumes so much better, especially when you implement that with mixing at a lower level. It's going to be very difficult at first because you're going to be trying to nitpick little parts, but once you get it down and you get good at it and the mix sounds good in mono, when you flip it back to stereo, the mix literally spreads out. All right, those were my 5 tips for you guys. These 5 tips really helped me out, especially when I first started mixing. I would focus so much on these and I still do. If you implement these 5, I promise you your mixes will get better so much faster. If you guys did like this video, leave a thumbs up. You can follow me on all social medias at LifestyleDidIt. Make sure to hit my site lifestyledidit.com for everything else. Other than that, subscribe to your boy, push notifications. Thanks.